Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 23rd episode of RLAfterShock, the podcast that by a week is now older than me. I am the Eternal J. That's going to take some getting used to. Let me tell you that right now. But I am the Eternal J, and joining me is not DigiBay. Actually, it's someone a bit new to the show. We've not had him on before. Unfortunately, Bacon couldn't quite make it today due to some personal reasons. I'm not going to delve into that. Obviously, we wish nothing but the best. But Jar of Jam will be taking his place for this special preview episode of the RLRS qualifiers. Jam, my friend, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine. I think it's an equal exchange. You've replaced one foodcaster with another foodcaster, a little bit of a savory digital bacon for a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of sweet tooth like me. Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine. We're still sort of we go in the same circle, so it's all fine. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me. And fan for a long time, and now hey, I'm in one of these little windows over here. Hey. Hi, Mom.
Good shit, my man. I mean, I wanted to get you on. I wanted to get you on at some point to do like a prediction game or something like that, like we did for the RLCS last season when I had like Crafters and Doomsy on to do a fucking show, and I really wanted to get you on because like this guy is a fucking mind for the game, and I'm really, honestly, this week is going to be really great. We've got some really good content coming up. We're talking about the Gfinity OCE RLCS contract. Flip side of saying goodbye to Rocket League, at least for the moment, and of course, as I was saying, we're talking all about the RLRS qualifiers, the bubble players that could do some really, really good work, and of course, who we think is going to be qualifying for the overall top four, or I should say bottom four, I guess you could say, from the play-ins to the main tournament itself. But before any of that, let's do the news, Mr. Jam. Some interesting shit's gone down, actually. Some of it might actually be quite significant to the EU scene, especially. Our first story comes from Gfinity Australia, where, of course, if you've been tuning into any particular sort of like moniker of the scene last week, you know that they set up the Oceanic Masters, which is basically the new path to the RLCS. It's the OCE RLCS of new, basically. Throwdown have lost it. Gfinity Australia have got it, and this is, I think, the first time since the split from Twitch that Psyonix have like patterned off a certain piece of the RLCS to a different tournament organizer, basically. You know, they had Throwdown before, but that was still kind of like with the Twitch agreement, because it's kind of like a Twitch thing. And with South America coming in, they're giving that to Rocket Street, and OCE has now gone to Gfinity Australia now. The reason why I want to talk about this is because in terms of the EU scene, like, Gfinity are essentially an EU org, right? They're based in the UK. That's where their head office is. So, like, there's been some chat, there's been some talk for the past couple of seasons about the idea of getting an EU studio in. Is this the first sign, potentially, of seeing that come out to fruition?
Well, here's only hoping, but the OCE part of Gfinity has been on a roll, really. I've been hearing a lot of news from that region. They have been really picking up the pace. Well, here specifically in Europe, we had a bit of a downfall. Unfortunately, for the known future, all the community cups have been cancelled. I'm assuming the Elite Series is still on, since that's a pretty big thing, and I don't think they will be dropping it anytime soon. Too many games are also being showcased there, so that'll be a pretty big hit. But already, it seems like the European scene has taken a little bit of a blow, since at this very moment, with the exception of Rival Esports holding their monthly tournaments, really nothing is happening. Like, no weeklies, no nothings. It's a little bit empty. With Gfinity exiting, the bubble scene has basically lost their opportunity to play with each other, with the exception of scrims.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing as well, honestly. Like, you know, this is something we've kind of been seeing a lot in the latest sort of like, you know, just throughout the course of throughout the course of the scene as a whole. You know, like there's a lot of sort of like nice, like small things to try and engage the European scene, but in the grand scale of the RLCS, there's not really been a whole lot. And there's a part of me that is kind of excited about this whole Gfinity thing, because it does show that Psyonix are starting to trust more tournament organizers outside of their own system. They're starting to trust the you know, the South America's Rocket Streets. They're starting to trust the Gfinities. Of course, you know, Gfinity has always been a bit of sometimes a controversial figure in the space, but honestly, like, you know, I think they do more good than harm than anything else. You know, like the production quality, for example, like, you know, something that everyone was talking about when this story broke was shit. Like the production quality of the OCE RLCS, of the you know, the production quality of this tournament, the you know, the Oceanic Masters, is going to be absolutely insane, right? Because that's what Gfinity are known for. They're just known for being able to pull off some of the most, you know, incredible things when it comes to production. All you have to do is take a look at any of the Elite Series broadcasts, and you've basically just got a case in point right there.
Yeah, it's every single time you see a Gfinity broadcast, it's a professional affair. It's also perhaps they're injecting a little bit of their own DNA into those broadcasts. I love the banter between the hosts. I love the little segments that they're doing. It's a little bit like the breaking off from the formula that is just simple. Hey, show the game, like talk a little bit about it, maybe do a little bit of a silly thing, but not really go into it. Gfinity is doing their thing. Plus, on top of that, they have a perfect team of graphic artists, of the video designers, I suppose. Of course, the broadcast team that just kills it, and that experience has already been seen in European Gfinity Elite Series. I'm expecting indeed that we'll be seeing that in OC as well. And as to the point as Psyonix trusting the more and more orgs, I think the Renegade Cup has been the real showcase of that. They've absolutely enjoyed working with every single organization, as they themselves have posted. And while there are no announcements yet of a next Renegade Cup, I'm pretty sure there will be something, because I can only see Rocket League scene growing.
Yeah, and the thing I love most about it is that obviously they've also been open to the dialogue aspect. Because another thing about this story as well is that, initially Gfinity had their own format set up for the playoffs. And for those of you who don't know how the Gfinity playoffs work, it's very similar to the regional playoffs from the North American and EU scene, where you've got essentially the round of 6 going into the semi-finals, the top 4 qualify for LAN. Except obviously in OCE that doesn't quite work because it's the top 2 that qualify for LAN. So they're not, essentially it's a single elimination bracket. Anyone who messes up, they've gone out of the tournament. They're gone. Their chance for LAN has gone permanently. So they have a double elimination system in play for the throwdown stuff. And then when shit kicked off and Gfinity decided, you know what, let's work with Psyonix to figure this out properly. And then they actually ended up implementing a double elimination system into the playoffs themselves. So yeah, it seems like a lot of people are being receptive to what Psyonix are doing, and obviously with Gfinity stepping up to the plate, it does build a bit more trust between other organizations and Psyonix. So again, I'm kind of excited to see what that ends up turning out to in the long term. Again, maybe we could be seeing Gfinity do the EU RLCS. Again, maybe we could be doing everything from Fulham. They have the capabilities to do it. You sort of think about the potential behind everything, and it's like you bring Gfinity in to do the RLCS league play stuff. The pros have been asking for LAN leagues, like on LAN league play for Young. So imagine if we actually had that done in the Gfinity studios, not only for EU but also for OCE.
Yeah, that'll be lovely, and this also eliminates that issue with having to go, oh, this is only an online team, they can't really perform on LAN. Here, everyone sort of starts in the same conditions, and then when the finals come, the World Championship happens, they will be also in the same conditions. Bigger crowds, louder people, Team 104, just, again, absolutely shutting everyone down.
That whole place will be Team 104, you realize this, right?
Yeah, it'll be absolute madness. Yeah, it's only an improvement, really. Since you are working in CS and PUBG, I'm pretty sure you're following that scene a lot much closer than I am. But even I know that there are a lot of LAN tournaments, and while Rocket League is at this point nowhere near that, it's still an improvement happening. Now Rocket League is a part of DreamHack, and 4 tournaments this year alone. That's pretty lovely indeed. It's just more and more things are happening, and hey, I'm hoping for more and more stuff on the side of Europe, because in a really big way, majority of the stuff is happening in NA. And while there's still South America that is also want their bit of 15 minutes of, well, not even the 15 minutes of stardom, just a little bit of highlight on them. OC, of course, wants it. Asia, who has been snubbed with this season, I'm pretty sure they will be fighting tooth and nail for the next one, or at least the one after that. Just everyone wants to be seen, everyone wants to participate, and hey, I can only see it growing, and really getting more LAN tournaments is a great big step to that.
Well, speaking of participation, nice little segue there. I love doing these on the podcast. It's fantastic. But a team, an organization that doesn't want to participate anymore with Rocket League esports, sadly, is Flipside Tactics. As this came out, of course, just a couple days ago, that they are out. The roster is no longer part of the organization. They have been dropped. Press release officially said, sadly, today we have some unfortunate news to share, as we've reached the end of an era, and it certainly is the end of an era. Flipside has been synonymous with Rocket Rocket League for the longest time in the world. And like 2015, you know, they had a team since 2015. You know, back when it was Marquis, was it Marquis Cookseer and Mike Rules? Was it Marquis Mystic and Mike Rules? It was something absolutely ridiculous like that. You know, the team goes back so far, and I didn't expect to see the day where we lost a massive team like Flipside, and we kind of all saw it coming to a certain extent. You know, like there was always the rumors floating about the idea that Flipside would be moving over to Fnatic. As of right now, the team themselves have not quite signed up with Fnatic as of yet, and Mystic actually gave an interview suggesting that it's probably a little bit more up in the air when it comes to that organization, but he certainly agrees. We've known this was coming for a long time. I want to get your thoughts on this, Jam, because obviously, like, I think I can only see this in bad light. I can't see this as a good thing. You know, I can't say, oh, well, maybe there would be a chance for, you know, Flipside to get some better salary or something like that. Yeah, that's certainly possible, but I don't see that outweighing the pedigree that something like Flipside Tactics sort of brought to the Rocket League scene. You know, that I don't see it outweighing the prestige and the legacy that organization has left behind on the game.
I mean, it is the end of an era where one of the OG teams has left. The players are still there, or at least Coxer still is here. But yeah, it's a little bit over for them. Mike Rules and Marky Duda, you've said it correctly. Marky Duda himself has actually just recently retired. He said that he will be playing, but not seriously. He won't be going for the RLCS level. He'll be sort of maybe...
Saw that coming as well, yeah.
Yeah, well, unfortunate. And Mike Rules, obviously, when was the last time you've seen him around? Might have actually been RLCS Season 1 by this point. He is, again, OG, but, well, not everyone's cut out for this. I'm not exactly agreeing with you, perhaps, on this being in bad light, but it's just a little bit unfortunate. I've read various opinions on this one, people feeling that the salaries might be inflated just a little bit since Flipside can't provide the salaries that Cookser and the rest of the squad are requiring. And they said that, hey, we would love to bring the staff that we currently have around us and bring it into the other org. We'll be absolutely happy, over the moon. But seemingly they won't be able to do so, or perhaps someone will come in, but not in the same situation. It's just more of a business thing. I understand Flipside Tactics players, and I understand Flipside also making that decision. They can't offer more. And even some of the organizations or specifically like sponsors coming into the scene, checking the players, seeing the potential requirements for salaries and backing out. It's strange, but I understand. It's business after all. And Flipside Tactics, I think they are in a position to demand something from their organization after winning WSOE. Perhaps it has been a while since Flipside Tactics have won something, but really in that tournament, the only EU hope, and by the point of top 4, I think they were the only EU hope, and boy, did they deliver 4-0 against Cloud9. That's also pretty significant. But since they couldn't work it out, well, shame. I'm pretty sure there's still more organizations coming in to pick them up. Fnatic, as you said, seemingly it was the rumor that Flipside Tactics will be moving into the Fnatic side, but since Mystic has himself announced that we're still looking for organization, I doubt he would do that if a Fnatic would be either still on the line, or it just doesn't look likely at this point. So it is what it is, but I'm sure more teams will come in. Hey, we had TSM. Like at which point did any of us think that TSM will be coming into the scene? And hey, it happened, and now I'm expecting even more interesting things to be happening.
Yeah, I'm hopeful for the future, but to be honest, I'm taking a look at this and thinking to myself, like, who can really deliver what they want out of this, out of an organization? You know, because like part of that interview that's on screen right now, there's a little quotation coming in. Obviously, it's an interview with Mystic, and he said, you know, Flipside are the perfect organization, but lack some necessary things that Cookser and I both desire. So what are those things? Higher salary? Like, you know, shit, like this in salaries right now are completely inflated. And, you know, it's, I don't mean to, like, you know, to shit on the idea that maybe Flipside should be giving should be given the same offer. Because obviously when you come to contract renegotiations, your value increases, you should be negotiating for a bit of a better offer. But at the same time, like, Frost has no fucking reasons to stick around in Rocket League. You know, he's expressed himself so many different times on the Reddit and on Twitter about his frustration with the way that Psyonix have handled Rocket League. Obviously, I don't think he wanted to leave Rocket League per se, but being here for 4 years and seeing possibly no return of investment on the part of Flipside Tactics, you're looking at it like, well, how does that work out for him in that case? Can he really justify keeping that squad on board for what they want out of the organization? So, there are certainly some unknowns. I really would love to see how it goes from here. But to be honest, there's only really one organization that comes to mind when they say trying to provide more than Flipside Tactics, and that right now, out of all the endemic Rocket League guys who are still kicking about looking for a team, they would have to be Fnatic. So why is this not already a done deal? There's so much speculation, so many different subtweets and passive aggressive sort of tweets coming in from guys from Triple Trouble and from Savage, and obviously from some of the other guys from the ex-Flipside roster himself. What is the situation right now? What on earth is going on?
I think you don't have to mention Savage. If something is going on in the world of Rocket League, you can expect Roken to just chip in on it. For no reason. He might not be even any single part of this. He just want to jump in and have a little bit of fun with it. So just rile up the scene a little bit. Yeah, but it's interesting how it works out, but it's also you can't exactly trust everything that you see, or you don't see a lot of the things that are currently happening. Again, Savage themselves are currently once again hinting that that the sign-up is pretty close. They've been previously have been rumored that they will be going and signing up with the Barcelona out of all teams. So that's something already, but unless something is happening, all those hints, winks, suggestion, those eye emojis that people are usually posting that signify something or might not signify anything at all. It's all a part of, I guess, entertainment that comes with the esports scene, and there are also leaks of pretty reliable ones, and sometimes it's just absolute poppycock.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly would believe that right now, Savage are certain. I mean, we can talk about this in another sort of segment, because I think the whole situation with the with signing with Barcelona, because the reason why they wanted to sign with Barcelona was because they wanted to be part of another tournament which still hasn't taken off yet. Right, we're in March. LPE, I'm going to call them out again. They were supposed to start in January. Still seen sweet fuck all come out of those guys. No offense to the guys working behind it. I know their lead commentator is a really good friend of mine from Counter-Strike. So I don't want to rag on them too much. But at the same time, I sort of thinking to myself, do Savage still want to sign with this with FC Barcelona right now? Do they want to do that? Do they want to bother with that? Do they want to try and see if they can sneak it away from Fnatic before Flipside or the ex-Flipside guys get involved? I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll have to find out as time goes on, because there's still a lot more news to talk about. We've already gone into 20 minutes of discussing on 2 news topics. So let's go to our third and final one. Of course, Complexity have officially announced that Flakes is joining them. This is a massive pickup for them, obviously, because me and Bacon over the last few months of the podcast, we were saying this team is now gone to shit ever since they got rid of Metanaris. I was thinking Griesemeister and Magnussen a lot were going to go their own different ways. A lot obviously did. He went to Mouse Sports, and now Flakes has come in, brought this team to DreamHack Leipzig. They had an okay run at Leipzig. I can put that down to mostly his nerves, but if they can replicate that online performance from the qualifiers in the RS, this team can still do some pretty decent damage, Jam.
My feel is that with the pickup of Flakes, Complexity can do that one first place run, because the teams that are currently in the league, plus the ones that will be coming in, obviously the teams that will be coming in, it's a whole nother topic in its own. We'll be talking about just a little bit later, but I feel like the Flakes pickup is the best chance for Complexity to sort of wipe out their fiasco that was the firing of Metanaris. This is their best chance, because I agree with you completely. What happened to Complexity was an absolute and utter crap show, but they brought it on themselves. They couldn't recover. They fell down. But with their pickup, with the transfer that they picked up, I absolutely felt in love in how Flakes was playing. See him play in Renegade Cups, just something else. Just a eye-opening performance, really, for me. And he just continuing on performing, really carried. He didn't just save, he carried Complexity Gaming through the Leipzig qualifiers. And then while the performance at the event itself wasn't the greatest, it's growing pains, I suppose. They sort of still have time to work with together, but it feels to me that Complexity completely hit it out of the park with that signing, and I'm hoping for all the best for Complexity. I've been a fan for a long time. Really, only Magnus remains from that team, but I'm looking forward to the future that it holds for Complexity.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, certainly he is the bubble pickup, essentially. You know, like he is the defining bubble pickup, the guy, you know, who came from the bubble scene to really, like, change the way a team sort of plays. You know, like, I often think of a lot of different Counter-Strike stories. There's one from like a Fnatic Counter-Strike team where this new kid just came in as an in-game leader, essentially a captain of a squad of veterans and old guard, and he led them to 3 back-to-back championships. It was fucking insane. But I feel like Flakes is sort of like the embodiment of that. I don't think he'll go so far as to lead the back-to-back championships with how thin they are really spread apart in the Rocket League scene. But I want to see what Complexity do from here on out, especially in the online circuit. You know, like those guys can do some damage. They proved it in the Leipzig qualifiers, so let's see what they can do in the RLCS League play. RLRS League play, I really should say, because obviously they have to play in another season. But I can see them going 7-0, honestly. I can see them going 7-0 if they can keep up with the bubble scene players. So, of course, at the end of the show, we'll be talking more about those guys in just a short few minutes. But before we get to that, though, it's time for our mailbag segment. Let's take some questions from the viewers and the people who enjoy listening and watching this podcast.
I mean, you need a little bit of a jingle to sort of transition into the mailbag, Jay.
Oh no, like I'm looking at like some like little bits of music and stuff. I'm gonna like try and get like an intro video done. Like it's slow progress because, like, you know, the amount of graphic work that needs to go into like doing the video side of it is really what holds us back. And also licensing music, that shit is expensive. It's the most expensive thing in the world, trying to license good music. So, you know, and I'm going to do it the legit way because that's the way I just kind of roll. So, yeah, I will get some jingle music, promise, rest assured. But let's move on without any jingle music and talk about our mailbag. Of course, if you want to suggest a question, submit a topic, send anything through via our mailbag. You can type !Discord in the Twitch chat, or check the Discord links in the show notes and video descriptions of every single podcast, where you can find a link to our Discord server and our community of a nice few little people who enjoy Rocket League esports. And you can send us a question, and chances are we'll answer it live on air. And our first question today of 2 comes from Geordie Unknown, long-time listener. Not really asked too many questions, actually, but it's fine. It's okay. Because this is actually a pretty interesting one, because he asks us, do you think Rocket League esports has peaked? Do you think that with possibly free to play in the pipes for upcoming years, this will be a resurgence and top dark horses for the RLRS qualifiers? We're going to leave the RLRS qualifiers for later, obviously. But let's start with our first question. Jam, do you think Rocket League esports has peaked?
No. Absolutely not. While what we're seeing right now is the peak of Rocket League. It's definitely, there's more. People are finding new technical qualities to the game, a little bit of maneuvers that nobody could perform before. And while, yes, it looks like it's like what else can be possibly done, we've seen all the pinches, the flicks, the everything, the flip resets. There's still enough space to master those and also to find new moves. What people are sometimes doing and posting on Reddit, like, hey, I did a double reset off the ceiling with something else. To master that takes time, and in the process you can find something else. With the way that the scene is also being developed with the modding, like Beckett's mod that allows you to practice a myriad of things. With the bot scene, actually, I'm feeling that there's also a lot of potential in the bot scene, since people are actually training Rocket League bots in those neural, whatever it's called, simulations, I suppose, where a computer just learns how to play the game without you telling it how to play it. And it might be a little bit like look into the future, a little bit of a Blade Runner-y kind of thing, but if a computer can actually come up with something that the players couldn't come up of their own, that could also be an amazing sort of blast for the rest of the scene. At least that's how I'm looking at this. If the Rocket League esports, it definitely has a lot in front of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Like, you know, I think that from terms of a viewer standpoint and where we sort of like are in terms of our viewership numbers and our stats on Twitch and shit, like we have stagnated a little bit, but I think that's because nothing interesting is being brought to the table. Like, you know, in terms of like production and the streams, not in terms of the gameplay, because obviously, as you were saying, people are innovating every day, and you know, it seems like, you know, that maybe we did like sort of like hit a bit of a spike in the Landon finals. We had that, you know, obviously some incredible level of gameplay, some incredible Rocket League being played at that one. I don't think Vegas kind of lived up to that hype, but then it kind of like got back into the swing of things at E-League, and Leipzig was looking really, really stacked and really, really fucking good. It was such a good entertainment value of things. I just think that when it comes to the viewers, they are feeling not burnt out, but they are feeling a little bit tired of seeing, or like, well, I don't know what the word is per se, but it's like when you don't see enough of a certain piece of content, so you sort of forget about it and you never see it again. Like that one movie that you watched at the cinema and you thought it was really, really good, but you didn't really pay it much mind. So in the end, you just kind of forget about it, and then it doesn't crop up until like some other point in time, and you're like, oh, I remember that thing. It's sort of like, I think that's what we have an issue with right now. Viewer retention is the term I'm using for you. We're having trouble retaining our viewers. And I think a primary purpose of that is, again, something I've been saying for ages, is the fact that we don't have enough tournaments going on. You mentioned this earlier, the weeklies are out of play and they're not even supported by Sonics when they are. We've had some of the monthlies come through, and yeah, they've had some pretty decent viewer numbers for the hardcore audiences, but when it comes to top tier lands, when it comes to top tier competitions, there ain't really much out there other than the pro circuit right now and the RLCS, you know?
Yeah, it's really a little bit of a drought, and with ESL dropping out, with Gfinity dropping out,
that's a big fucking loss. Those two right there, like, you know,
yeah,
those guys. That, you know, ESL did kind of lose its sort of like sheen after a certain period of time. We're looking at that tournament, I was like, didn't really quite take it seriously, but everyone loved playing Gfinities, and that was sort of like the one-stop shop for, you know, scrimming and testing out how like a new player will work within the context of a squad, and also just playing generally to increase your skills, you know. And now that we've lost those two tournaments, like, that's a big fucking blow to the scene right now.
Yeah, I'm hoping there will be some new openings. Definitely, people are looking into the scene. I'm seeing many more local leagues pop up. At this very moment, the French league is happening. The Rocket League is Rising Stars. TCS Esports League in Switzerland will be starting pretty soon, their second season. After the success of the first one, and I do know that actually there's things in the works that are currently happening, and I'm loving that the Rocket League is getting a start on a local level, plus on the student level as well. If I'm not mistaken, was it just a couple of days ago, could be even yesterday, that either the qualifiers or the first matches of the European College Association, I'm butchering the name, but just look it up. It's the now the colleges are also sort of getting participating in the various tournaments all over Europe. So that's another start, but that's not exactly it. That's sort of the CRL. That's the college level on the NA side. But that's not exactly the professional level. It's a good sort of starting point, but it's no Gfinity, is what I'm saying.
I think the problem right now with the way that they're approaching CRL is that they're going into it way too early. Like, esports as a whole has not hit the point where collegiate or university esports fucking works. You know, like, if you wanted to be an independent tournament organizer that organized university leagues, like the NSE, for example, or what was it, NASFA is the other one I think it's for in North America. I can't remember the actual name for the American ones, because that's how little actually care about collegiate esports, right? Rocket League has not got a defined professional scene, therefore there is no point in doing CRL, right? And CRL itself, you can sort of prove this in the point of the viewer's perspective as well, because you watch CRL and it has the lowest viewership among all the Sonic sponsored tournaments. Even the fucking Renegade Cup had more had more viewers and had more attention around it, not only from the community side of things, when we were doing it with Copenhagen Flames or Rewind Gaming or Rival Esports or whoever, basically. You know, when we're doing it with those guys, even those had a lot more viewers than CRL gets right now on the official Rocket League channel. Like, that's how little people care about CRL. And I know that people want to say, oh, collegiate esports is the future. Like, that's not how esports works. It's not, you know, and especially in Rocket League right now, where we could still have space to define like 2 or 3 different feeder tiers into the RLCS RLCS as a whole, and still we're trying to put more money into, like, you know, collegiate level stuff and regional stuff. And regional stuff isn't so much of a sin per se, I don't think, because obviously I think if you have that regional fan base, you should capitalize on it. I know Lucas just put in chat, for instance, that ESL are now focusing on regional tournaments. They've always had regional offices, they've always had like a regional sort of base when it comes to how they operate things. So they've got offices in London and Cologne and Poland, and obviously they've got stuff in North America, in California, and then there's also a studio down in is it Sao Paulo? I think it is. I can't remember specifically, but it's in Brazil somewhere basically. So like ESL themselves have always been sort of big about developing the national circuits, and yeah, they've done that right here. You know, they've developed a national circuit, you know, and I think that's great for them and everything, but it only does so much for the really, really significant level, you know, the really, really sort of like, you know, the RLRS and the RLCS positions, you know?
It's still a breeding ground for talent, it seems. It's only a question of sort of combining those things and the again, RLRS, RLCS. It does seem a little bit disjointed, but I guess you'll have the more experience with looking into it. Again, with your participation in CSGO and PUBG, although PUBG is still sort of young and it's still, well, it's most defined of the battle royale sports, I'd say, because currently watching. Well,
let's put it this way. Let's put it this way, right? Yeah, PUBG have got their shit together because they've actually got themselves a fucking set of national circuits for all the regions: Europe and CIS, North America, South America, Central Asia, Southeast Asia, fucking Africa, for fuck's sake. You know, like they've got all this shit laid out. They've got everything they need, and they're still working on developing it so they can, so that way when they do have a stable system, when they do have a stable scene, they can focus on the collegiate stuff later. You know, like they've taken everything into account, and they're focusing on the most important things first, and that is to have a top tier tournament system that people can work towards when they do want to look into collegiate systems and how those work into the overall thing. Whereas it seems like CRL in its own right, it's just its own little side thing that, you know, while it gets a lot of attention from Psyonix, doesn't really integrate into the scene as a whole.
Yeah. In that regard, I completely agree with you. It is a thing. I think good things can come out of involving players at a, well, that's not exactly young and tender age. Here we have Scrub Killa, who couldn't play in the majority of the tournaments because he was too young, and obviously the colleges and universities, it's already 18 and plus. But it's seemingly like it's not exactly fitting into the whole scene, and it's obviously our own preferences speaking that we really like to see a little bit more of a third level of Rocket League, the bubble scene, to be noticed by Psyonix, and thankfully they have. It's just that I suppose we're hoping for even more, and with the attention that's mostly being on NA that Psyonix is providing, we are a little bit bitter, but still hopeful for the future.
A little bit. Rest assured, mate. Rest assured. Not a little bit bitter, mate. I'm very fucking bitter. You know, I feel like that'll benefit us more if we had a third tier and a fourth tier to expand things to give sort of like a pathway up to the RLCS. But, you know, I think we sort of talked about how Rocket League has peaked, or whether it has peaked, and how it can go further, I think, more than anything else. But to bring back to Geordie's second question, obviously, he says, do you think that with possibly free-to-play in the pipes for upcoming years, this will be a resurgence? Do you think we'll be able to resurge if we saw free-to-play? And while I don't think necessarily that we've peaked per se, I think that free-to-play is always a good thing for any particular game as a model, because it gives that access to everybody else. You know, Psyonix are already making money off the Rocket Pass, which is its own little thing you have to pay for, off the crates, which you have to pay for as well. You know, there's all these other revenue streams that Rocket League has right now, and I think honestly it's the most ideal thing just to push it into a free-to-play model at any point that Psyonix really needs to. You know, they don't really have to, because I think it was brought up in another conversation, another podcast, that they don't have to because Rocket League is still selling games. You know, it's still one of the highest selling games on Steam right now. So, you know, I don't think they'll need to do it right here, but with free-to-play, I think it's something down the pipeline that, yes, will bring in new talents. I don't think it's necessary.
It definitely won't hurt. I don't think introducing the game to even a broader audience would hurt us. Yes, of course, there will be an influx of new players, and I can already imagine people complaining, "Oh my God, I'm getting all these newbies in my ranked games. Holy crap!" Well,
that's what happened after the fucking hard reset, innit? Everyone was like, "Everyone's shit at my tier. Get me back to Grand Champ or whatever it is," you know.
Yeah, you will be hearing that for a long, long time.
Yeah,
But
we
hey,
will.
it comes with the territory, and I'm looking forward to that. Just having more people. Thankfully, Rocket League is a very universal esport, but also very general admission, whatever the term might be. Unlike CS:GO, unlike all the shooters, unlike the League of Legends and Dotas, unlike any of the games when you have to destroy someone or kill someone or something else, it's of course, esports are currently right now are much more accepted than they've been before. Still, Rocket League and stuff like sports titles, FIFA, and everything else are something that can be shown to everyone. Nobody will say, "God, well, you're playing these violent games." It's not a violent game. It's a game that is non-violent, which is a rarity in esports styles, and it's a game that can be understood by many without the need to really delve into it. That's the perfect recipe. So, really opening it up to more people. I mean, I'll only be happy if that happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like just in terms of just general video game ethics, I think that they should open it up to free to play because they're already making money off these other avenue streams. But again, Science don't really have any need to. People are still buying the game, and I don't blame them for not necessarily doing that. So there you go. Jordy, thank you for your questions. We're going to move on to our last question, though, from Switch. Massive shouts to Switch, by the way, because he put together a big database of RLR's potential bubble teams, essentially. And we use that to base our entire feature segment for today. Well, so massive shouts to Switch, my man. You are an absolute legend. Not even I can keep track of this shit, so the fact that you did is insane. So thank you very much. Of course, I'll be happy to answer your question. And of course, he asks, do you think that Rocket League will reach a point where it's almost completely random as to who wins a major, minor qualifiers for an event, etc.? And you can also see that Tylacto has responded with already on the reactions. Standard top memes right there, which certainly could be made an argument right there of whether it would be the case. That right now we are in a situation where random teams do kind of win a major, or a minor, or a qualifier. Because you take a look at the last few qualifiers, and it's like, well, we had 4 different teams qualify for 4 different spots in 2 different tournaments in WSOE and DreamHack Leipzig. And you take a look at the LAN victories going back. You've had Dingatas win 1, Flipside have won 1, TSM have won 1, and Cloud9 have won 1. So it almost could sort of be like made. You could almost make the argument for that sake. But I think that honestly, the reason why it looks so random as it is right now is because there aren't enough LAN events to sort of like just have like a big sort of deep pool. The reason why we say there are so many consistent teams in Counter-Strike is because we have so many tournaments about at so many different levels that we can take a look at the context of how each tournament fits in, and we can see, right, well, Astralis have won fucking 15 tournaments in the last 6 months, so yeah, they are the best team in the world right now by a country mile. But if we only had the 2 majors a year, then maybe it wouldn't be the same, because Astralis wouldn't be, you know, because you know, there's a bit of a smaller pool to pull from, and I don't think that Astralis would have so much, you know, so much opportunities to flex their muscles in grand finals and such. As for when will we reach a point as to how random it would be? Like, I think honestly it's a cycle. Like, sometimes you'll have like dominant forces, sometimes you'll have dominant teams. Sometimes you'll have squads. Sometimes you'll have squads who, you know, smash it out of the water, like your Gale Force and Dignitas they did for 2 seasons. And then sometimes you'll have situations where maybe that Dignitas side has fallen off, and now you've got a bit of a scramble to see who's the top team in the world. I certainly think we're in that particular element, as is the case with the Dignitas example.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. The fact that we are not having that many tournaments sort of introduces that a little bit of uncertainty, while so many different winners. Of course, we have Dignitas winning the DreamHack. We had Wiedemann Girls winning the Elite Cup. And, of course, there had been a change here and there. Of course, C9 with their wins. I think it comes with the fact that not much is happening, and if there will be more tournaments, definitely we'll see a little bit more of stability. We also are seeing a big change right now. For example, with the whole roster shuffle, it'll be again a completely a new question as to who will be on the top right now, and only the start of the season will tell. Because it's still a big question, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm also looking forward to who else will be coming in, because there are some people who are holding on since the season 1. There are some people who just came in and made a name for themselves, and I say thanks to that, because that just keeps the scene fresh. It keeps everyone involved. It creates new stars and heroes, and it only allows the scene to grow.
Yeah, you know, and with so many great players, so many great teams, like honestly, I could see any number of the professionals tiered leveled squads like coming up and saying we're going to sign these bubble players, we're going to sign this bubble scene or this bubble team, we're going to sign this duo or this one individual player. And I sort of like with what Flakes did or what Complexity did with Flakes. You know, like it is quite a bit of a tussle to try and get that top spot right now. I think that there are some elements that will come out consistent. Obviously, Dignitas have just won a new tournament, so you know, and we're keeping 2/3 of their original roster. You know, plus the fact Flipside are coming up and they've picked up a really good player, so now they're looking just as good and building on what they already established with Yukio. You know, you're looking at like such a situation where there could be anyone to make it out right now. And again, I feel like that it's just a cycle. You'll see one team dominate, then we'll see a scramble, then we'll see a team come out of the ashes and dominate, and then we'll see a scramble, and so on and so forth. As generally history tends to sort of like, you know, as history tends to teach, I think, for esports, because it's not just Rocket League that does this, it's Counter-Strike that does this, it's Dota that does this, it's also StarCraft that does this. It's just a trend that you observe, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Dignitas, their dominating streak. We've seen, of course, in North America, NRG, C9 trading blows. I think it's absolutely normal. Don't forget, we are a pretty young sport, and there's still things that are being developed, found out. I'm still not sure how much there's an involvement of coaches on the strategy approaches to the game. Like I know I've seen plenty of League of Legends matches, of CS:GO matches. I know how much of a big planning sort of setup, how much planning goes into a game against your opponent. So many things can be checked, so many strategies can be worked through. You can check their strategies, you can work out counter strategies. In League of Legends, Dota's that's champion picks. In CS:GO, that's just how the teams are being set up. In Rocket League, it doesn't have that aspect, but there's still a lot that you can work through. And since the coaches are never allowed to chat with the players during the series, or even before the series on stage, it sort of hides that aspect, and I think there's still a lot of work that can be done. I might be wrong just because I don't see it, but it seems like there's still a big opening. Whoever really corners the market on really being the best analyst and being the best sort of preparer for the games, or best coach, I think can really start a dynasty as is.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, I certainly feel like there's more room for coaches. Me and Bacon talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we talked about the idea of a tactical pause in Rocket League. You know, they're having the chance to sort of like stop in the middle of a series and just, you know, just to get like a 2 minutes essentially, just to have a chat with your coach about what's going on right now, and have him kind of sort of come in and give his own opinion, give you sort of like a way to work in. Or even during the 60-second period, the coach can just come in on comms and start speaking to the to the team right now. I think that's something that possibly Gfinity could implement, because obviously they have like a big LAN environment. Obviously, it's week in, week out league play. I think there's a story somewhere to be found where an underdog team brings in this guy who's a coach, right? And they're really good, like, you know, they're a good solid 3-man squad. They're just not quite getting it into the playoffs of like a Gfinity, for example. Like, let's just say Reason Gaming, for example. Reason Gaming and their old team with Shakaron and Calix and so on and so forth. Those guys, right? Imagine if they had like a coach, let's say Digital Bacon, for example, just because obviously I miss him this week. Let's say Digital Bacon came in as the coach for Reason Gaming, right? And not only did they barely scrape their way through the group stage, but they also got to the grand finals against fucking Method. And not only did they struggle against Method, they also came forward and they were 3-0 down. Bacon comes up with a fucking, you know, a tactical pause, essentially 2 minutes to talk to his teammates. They all gather around the huddle in the middle of a table and just sort of like talk it through, have like a bit of a great broadcast moment, essentially. And then they go back and then they reverse sweep the whole thing to get the championship right there. Like, that would be like a Justin Goal RLCS moment, right? That would be like a historical landmark watershed moment for coaches in Rocket League right now. And I think that that's where it happens in the Gfinity Elite Series, EU or OCE, you know? Like, I think coaches have a bit of a bigger role to play in the matches themselves, and not just as this sort of like, you know, life coach, basically, not just sort of like motivational guy, someone who actually, you know, has impact in the matches themselves.
I'm loving that scenario already. I'm imagining it. It's lovely. It's absolutely something for the ages. Yeah, it will be great to see. I know that teams are employing the analysts. Dignitas has just recently have been actually looking for an analyst for themselves. They've set up a bunch of tasks for potential employees. A couple of our friends have actually applied. Good luck to them. I'm not sure if the position has been filled already or not, but it's something that's happening. But I would love to see coaches involved, because seeing players just sit there on stage and sort of throw a couple of phrases here and there, but not really talking through as to what's happening. Maybe they're understanding it on some different level, but seemingly if they can actually break it down and regroup and come in again strong with the help of someone who actually can observe the game from the side, it will be a big change. But obviously both teams will be able to use that, so may the best coach win, and I don't see any negatives in that. I see only the positive for the team.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree with that. I don't see any negatives. I don't see any massive issues that could potentially crop up with having a coach in the background. So maybe it might happen, maybe it might not. Gfinity already allows people to stand, managers and coaches to stand behind their teams at the Elite Series. So maybe we might see again. Maybe we might have that moment. Maybe we might have that scene that happens and changes the role of coaches forever. But thank you, regardless, for your question, Switch, and thank you very much to everybody else who has sent in mailbags over the course of the last few weeks. We have been running a little bit dry, but of course we always appreciate any contributions you can make. But again, if you want to get involved, if you want to send us a mailbag that a mailbag question that we'll answer live on air, it's !Discord in the Twitch chat right now, or find the links in the show notes and the video descriptions for the audio and video versions of the podcast. Right, let's get on to our feature this week, which of course is our RLRS team rundown. We've got a lot of teams to talk about, obviously, because not only are we going through the 4 squads that made it through in this next season from the last season, and the 4 squads that of course dropped out, we're also going to be going through as many of the bubble scene teams as we can. And I say as many as we can because there are literally hundreds of the fuckers, and there is no way we're going to be able to cover every single squad sort of every single squad's chances at the moment. But again, I want to say a massive shout out to Switch for this one, because he made a massive spreadsheet of basically every player who signed up, or every significant player who signed up for the RLRS qualifiers, and it's like, my dude, you made my life so much easier. You are the budget Liquipedia, basically. So let's go through and talk about some of the squads that of course stayed in from the last season. So we'll start with Team Secret. Since Freaky and Flame are sticking together, they've left out They've left out Tylacto and they brought in Niels Cook as their main, but Tylacto's still going to stay on as a sub. He tried to sort of float around different squads, tried to see if he can find a way to work in, but it never quite worked out for his side of things. Secret, however, are going to bring him on as a substitute instead, and they're going to be competing under the Veloce, I don't even know.
Don't ask.
Bacon said Veloce last week, so I'm going to call him Veloce, and they're going to be competing with a chance to make it into the RLCS once again. They came within 2 games of doing it last season, but they lost 2 games, and obviously they only held top 4, which is of course what made Tylacto in the end quit. And it's quite curious actually, because over the course of since the last season, over the course of the off season, we have seen Secret kind of just crumble a little bit. They've struggled quite a lot, in the few tournaments that they have played out, and I'm not sure where they stand going into this next season, to be honest.
Well, their positioning might be a little bit shaky, but they're still stayed with it. They don't have to fight through it again, as many teams will have to. And boy, there are a lot of challengers. Still, it's especially with all of those extra teams coming in, with all the teams we'll be talking about later. Really, almost nobody is safe. We have some. Method, Fnatic, and Complexity Gaming are the teams that also will be staying here. But really, with their changes to the rosters as well, in Fnatic, of course, losing their organization and currently being orderless, playing as Vikings, it's Secret are not safe. But I'm happy to see Freaky and Flame sticking together, and with Niels Cook joining them. Niels Cook has been around, just jumping from one squad to the other for a really long time. Has been really finding much success, but the fact that he's playing on our all-rush level, it's already something that's only 0.01% of all people playing our Rocket League do. Less than that, I'm pretty sure. So he's in a good company, and seeing him still being recognized, it's a nice thing to see. Still, Team Secret wouldn't exactly say that they're the favorites of the next season of RLAfterShock.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it certainly is great to see Niels Cook come into this squad and actually kind of boost them up to a point where they were looking good. You know, again, they were able to qualify for DreamHack Leipzig because of his efforts and because he was brought into that team. And obviously, his stock is at an all-time high right now because last time around when he was playing with the XL squad, or the Schnoozers by the end of it, you know, when they brought Breezy in, and it was him, Ponex, and Breezy. They were doing really, really good stuff together, that three-man. It's a shame they didn't quite go as far as they could have done, I think. But in the end, it kind of did give Niels Cook and Ponex a bit of a breath of fresh air having Breezy in their side, and they've done really, really good stuff together. So having him come into this squad, define it more as Secret, or as Veloce, I'm going to have some serious trouble calling him Veloce. Like, the Secret's another one of those teams that's been around for ages, and it's like, well, now that they're going to move to a different organization, it's going to take some time getting used to. As the Eternal J will take some time getting used to as well for everybody else. So I guess it's kind of karma against my own side of things, but whatever. Yeah, I can see them possibly staying in the RLRS. I don't think they'll make promotions this time around again.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure one of the spots is already taken by Complexity Gaming, unless there is an even bigger crap show by them and they manage to drop out even out of RLRS, or just don't make it into the through the promotions. But yeah, it's just too much fighting will be happening there. Veloce have picked up a strong squad, and we're wondering who can they possibly pick up, and they ended up with the Team Secret roster. It's just too competitive. It'll be a theme throughout the rest of the segment, the fact how competitive the bubble scene currently is, and just how many names could be possibly put into contention for the spots in RLRS. So Team Secret's, their position is sort of okay-ish, but nothing the sorts of complexity, nothing the sorts of domination that Triple Trouble and Savage had the previous season. So they're just there. Good for them. Feel free to surprise us. I always like a good surprise, a team that suddenly just shows up out of nowhere. Those are well-known names by this point, but they still can prove to be something. If they suddenly find their chemistry, all you need sometimes is just change a player here and there, and all of a sudden you're just shooting up to the top.
Yeah, and there is potential, I think, for them to shoot up to the top, but I'm not going to put my money on it this season, I don't think. But a team that I certainly could trust to do a little bit of damage is the now all-Netherlands roster in Method. Rix Ronde, Burrito B, and now most likely Oslo at this point. Like, I'm pretty sure it's a done deal, to be honest, here. Like, I can't see a way where Oslo would not be playing with this squad, especially with how well he's fit in after they lost Cassio. Like, I kind of wanted Cassio to stay on Method right there. I really wanted him to stay, like, right, this could end up, you know, like this squad with Cassio looked like they were doing some really good work. Again, they had a very, very good run actually in the Infinity Elite series. Like, so much so that I barely even noticed them because, like, you know, they were just silently sneaking in and getting as many wins and topping out their group. And then of course they ran straight through to the grand finals and beat everybody without even breaking a sweat. It felt like, you know, that's how good they were. They were so good I didn't even notice. With Ocelon, I don't think it's an upgrade for Method, but I think that possibly that little like national pride, certainly for Rix Ronde and Burrito B themselves, might be able to bring a little bit into the fold when it comes to Method being able to do well in the next season.
It definitely helps, and I think just having a potential to actually even meet together, even practice together in the same room, that's already a huge boon for a team. And all they need, again, is just a little bit of time. Rix Ronde and Burrito B has been together for quite a while now. They sort of got themselves a duo going, if Aslan will indeed fit out into that team, like that much needed third player, then Method can turn their luck around. They didn't have much luck in the Renegade Cup finals. Yes, they had a pretty good result. They've won the Neon Dream, of course, but it hasn't been the best final run. MCon Esports were just too good, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, MCon certainly are a team that's still, like, you know, we'll get onto them in a minute, to be honest, but I think that certainly that Method have a good shout to rival them, because they are sort of like the national duelists, you know. MCon are from the Netherlands as well, unless they're from France? No, they're from the Netherlands. Sorry, scratch that. I'm being an idiot. Are they from the Netherlands, actually?
Yeah, they are.
Okay, sorry. I just thought because like literally because obviously like the French flag is just that, but just turned it around basically. So I always forget which one's which from between Netherlands and French flags. But bottom line is that when it comes to national duels, like they can have a bit of they can be a bit messy and they can be a bit random. Again, that's something I've observed in not only Rocket League but also in other esports as well. I think the Method, however, they've been on a scary run these last few months. Not only the Elite Series finals, but also their run through the Neon Dream. I think they possibly could have done a lot better in the Renegade Cup finals if it wasn't best of threes throughout the entire bracket. I certainly think it was best of fives and best of sevens in the lower, upper, and grand finals. Then we would have seen a bit more of a better performance from the boys over at Method. So I'm expecting good things out of them this season. I think there's a chance I think that they'll be able to get into contention get into the top 2 this season.
It's certainly a possibility. It's again, it's a question of whether the third player, whoever that might be, most likely Aslan, whether he will really be a good fit. And since we don't really have much to go off, you mentioned Gfinity Elite Series that ended up a long time ago. The Renegade Cup has already finished as well. It has been a month since that happened, and we haven't really seen much. So at this point, there's a lot of speculation, but I'm liking their chances. Really, Method might turn and luck around with this acquirement of some sort of a Dutch player. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, what if they pick up someone from MCon or Team Equazulu? Just set another roster big swap in motion. That'll be something else because there's some great players in those teams. Yep,
I mean, it's possible. I mean, I don't think it will happen, honestly, because like they've got a lot more history with Arsalan in terms of him just being on Team Envious prior to this in the Elite Series, and just in general, his sort of track record has been on some pretty decent squads. The Clappers he was a part of, in the past, the Envy squad that gave actually quite a little bit of hell to Method back when they were back when they were playing in the Elite Series. So I think that probably Arsalan is the best bet for them. I don't think they'll sign anyone from MCon. I don't think MCon want to let any of their players go just because obviously they're one of the teams that could possibly make it into the RLRS this season based off their recent performances in qualifiers and of course the DreamHack Leipzig tournament. So we will come on to them in a second. I think Arsalan is pretty much a done deal though. Like I'm pretty confident in that one, Jam.
Yeah, well, we'll go with that then. We don't have the Bacon predictions today, Bacon rumors.
Bacon's bullshit.
Yes, indeed. The inside source, the official inside source of Liquipedia, Bacon. But we'll go with that. Indeed, it's the most likely one. It's actually surprisingly enough, it's not on Liquipedia. The fact that Aslan will be joining it, so seemingly we're just a step ahead of them on that one. Lucas, what's up with that? We'll never know. But let's go to the
Lucas. You're slacking, blonde.
Let's go to the next team that will be participating in RLRS next season, and that is, of course, the X-Fnatic squad. Snaski and Maestro have kept together a squad. They are playing as Vikings, have been sort of here and there, of course, trying to get the qualification going for DreamHack as well. And Mummy Snow initially joined that X-Fnatic squad, then left. But the word on the street is that since he wasn't able to find himself a team, he will be rejoining his old teammates and they will continue playing. Since if you can find a good squad and your ex-teammates are still participating in RLRS, I mean, that's a pretty darn good spot.
Yeah, I'm not really certain as to who can fit into to the Vikings right now. I don't really see another player other than Mummy Snow right now, because obviously, as you say, he hasn't really found himself another team. I haven't seen him practicing with a whole lot of other people, to be honest. Like, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure where he goes. Where he goes other than back to the Vikings. But then again, that also brings up. It also brings up the issue of how they're going to be able to perform if they have Mummy Snow back in on that side. Because I'm not going to lie, they looked like they really, really just like fizzled out by the end of their Elite Series run. I expected them to get into the playoffs, but they didn't quite do as well as I hoped they would. Again, for such an organization as prestigious as Fnatic, like I'm looking at that like, well, what's going on here, boys? You know, like what's the situation with this roster? Because they were looking all right, they were looking good. You know, they didn't make second to the Elite Series, but they had a few problems on the way there. Their group stage was shaky AF at certain points. You know, their run against was it Epsilon ended up being a 4-3, and obviously they ended up losing to Method 4-2 at the end of that one. So I still think that they certainly fizzled out by the end of their run. I certainly figure that they fizzled out during the promotion playoffs. Obviously, you know, I'm not sure what that 3-man can do anymore that can potentially do some good work. I honestly feel like that of the teams that make it into that are staying into the RS from last season, this is the one team that actually will end up dropping out in the next season. My prediction.
There is a potential for that if they can sort of really get themselves together, and with players sort of leaving then rejoining. I'm not exactly sure what the sort of the chemistry between the players is right now, but I don't think it's helping that much. If they take that time to actually proper regroup and get themselves going, actually work on their problems, both like inner team or just their play style or play skill level, then they have a possibility. But it's really a question of whether they can do that. They fizzled out, they might still be burned out and might indeed drop dead by the end of the season. There are a couple of possibilities as to who perhaps might also fill their spots. I wouldn't be surprised if they pick one of their Danish compatriots. Friss is still around, Pondex. So there's still possibilities that there might be someone else just joining them. Winter is playing in the qualifiers as well, although I'm not sure on what level Winter is currently planning on participating in the RLAfterShock shenanigans.
Yeah, we'll break all that down in a bit more detail when we come to looking at some of the bubble scene players, because we have a few more teams we want to cover from last season. Complexity, obviously, real good contenders for #1 spot, as you mentioned earlier when we talked about Flakes' transition. Honestly, I can see them going 7-0. I can see them just being able to smash everybody in this next season, so that's my thoughts on it. Now to the teams that didn't quite do so well. We'll start, actually, I'm going to start with Excel and Copenhagen Flames, because those two teams... they're actually the Clappers as well, actually, for that matter. All those three of those teams are basically disbanded at this point. They are no longer playing together. They are no longer, they're on different teams in different squads, or they're just not playing on the qualifiers whatsoever. In the case of Fries and Ocelon and Petrick and Marky Dudar, actually, because he's obviously gone ahead and, as we mentioned earlier, he's basically unofficially retired, essentially. So that leaves basically Nordavind as the only team left standing with a chance to qualify into this next season of RLRS from the bottom 4, and I think they've actually had a bit of an improvement as of late. You know, they got rid of Godspeed at the start, and then they brought in Sebadam from the ex Epsilon side, or what were they called before? Biltradam prior to that. And you know, they've had a couple of good online runs in recent tournaments. You know, they had a bit of a poor showing at the Leipzig qualifiers, which is there, but in the all-platform tournament in Rival Esports' $500 all-platform tournament cup for Europe, they had a really good performance on that one. Actually made it all the way to second place before losing out to ARG. And I think that overall they have kind of looked at, like, they've had a bit more polish to them. You know, I think they've had a bit more polish to them as of late. You know, I think they've had a bit more a flair to their side compared to the way that things looked like at the end of the Elite Series, when things definitely felt like they had gone, you know, a little bit topsy-turvy.
Yeah, Nordavind decided to stick together what they have with their performance. Sort of, there have been a lot of hope regarding this team. You've seen them, it's one of the original teams that has been supported by a real life football or soccer club. But that was a really long time ago, at the start of 2018. But Dead and El Dente stuck with each other, and Sebadam, I'm glad to see him on the team. He has been sort of trying to get it going with different squads, and seemingly as of late, he's more of on the rise. His performance previously has been really unstable. You never knew which Sebadam shows up on what day of the week. Sometimes it has been great, Sebadam will absolutely destroy everyone, and sometimes it was just Sebadam is the reason why this team is currently losing. So having him on the roll and having Data and Al Dente still working with each other might bring Nordavind to some new interesting heights, because really there isn't that much to their name. They've been fighting for a long time. You see Nordavind think, okay, all right, they're in this one. They're still trying. They're still practicing. It's just that you never see them in the context of Nordavind sweeping the tournament without losing a single game or something like that. It's always Nordavind. All right, well, it'll be a challenge, but chances are, well, Nordavind will not be finding themselves in the top 3.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask about the performance to potentially make it into the top 4. Are they going to be making it into the top 4 in this season? I'll let you say your piece on this one before I absolutely rail them.
No, not really. Again, I'm open to be surprised, but with the names that we'll be mentioning later on, I'm just not seeing it. It'll be way too hotly contested for them to be in the top 4. Again, their performance was I suppose. Not really the best showing. I'm currently quickly checking who exactly was it. No, I completely lost it. Well, whenever we'll come to that. Yeah, actually, it was Nordavind. My bad. They would like to reclaim their spot, but the fact is, when they were playing in the previous season, they've lost to every single team in top 4, and those 4 losses basically dropped them down to the 5th spot, and out they went. And this season, it might be even more more hardships for them on the way. So I'm not exactly seeing it. Yes, Savage and Triple Trouble are out of the picture, but boy, there's so many new hot teams that we might see yet another new and shiny and just immediate from RLRS to straight to next season RLCS.
Yeah, I'm in agreement right there, honestly. Like, I was going to say something about how they'd be pathetic compared to the current Rubble scene, but honestly, you've said it in a much more polite way. I can't really add anything to that because, yes, Nordavind, I do not trust they're going to make it back in this time around. So let's go through some of the teams that might well do so. We have compiled a big fucking list. And when I say a big fucking list, I mean... We've gone through. We've got 4 teams that we've each picked. Roughly, a little bit of bleed over between those 4 squads.
They're identical.
They're identical. Yes, they are identical. And then we've got 17 teams we've picked from the bubble scene that could possibly have a good run and make it to the RLRS this season. That's how fucking stacked EU is right now, right? That's how fucking stacked this qualifier is. We're not going to... I don't think we'll go too deep into the specifics of who's already qualified for the play-ins. I don't think we're going to go too... I don't think we're going to go so far as to do start predicting who's going to make it so far and so forth, because it's pretty expected that out of 128 teams, these lot should make it into the play-ins at least, right? Not all of them obviously going to make it to the RLRS, but they should all make it to the top 128 to start. So let's start things off with Game Fist. This is a team that hasn't quite qualified as for the 128 yet, but they were one of the teams that we looked at during the Ember series and was like, okay, this team could actually do some damage. I did feel they were a little bit underwhelming when push came to shove, but honestly, I think that with a good day on their side, they can still make a run. I think they can still make a run.
Yeah, the team of Brander, Swaggart, and Lethal Kale, and who was the last on their team? I'm currently looking at their roster for completely different leagues, so I'm slightly out of the loop. Vana, indeed. Yeah, they were the surprise, and they were actually been picked up by GameFest as the tournament went on. Originally, they've been the Bim Bam Police, and we had a really good chuckle with that one. But GameFest saw the potential in them, and I think there is indeed that they've been. Amongst all the teams that have been participating in the Ember series, at least out of the ones we didn't exactly know what to expect of them, players that we haven't really seen, teams that have just sort of gathered and been under our radar, they have been the ones that have been sort of the head above everyone else. They really had a thing going on. They've clicked. It seemed like they were working as a team, and that's sort of what separated them from the rest. They couldn't exactly go as far as really kicking butts and taking names, but there's someone who you might look at for a future prospect, because really a lot of teams that are currently making the waves have been around for a while, and you might have not expected them at the very beginning of their journey, but right now you better beware, and GameFest might be one of those teams.
Yeah, they could well do. I mean, also just to make a mention, because I know that there is some people in chat thinking that that's our full list. That's not our full list. It's actually taken from a full-blown document that's actually thrown together basically every single bubbled scene team. So there's a lot more names if Ben can scroll up and down and demonstrate as of the point of what I'm trying to say, because there's a fuck ton of squads. And there's certainly a lot of teams and players that we're going to miss out on this list. I'm just going to say that as a caveat. I forgot to mention that there is a lot of teams, a lot of players. I'm sure we've overlooked one or two, so do apologize, but we at the very least we have the main teams that we think are going to make it through, so we'll get to those in a minute. Let's talk about another team, WLF. This squad is competing with Lendo, CKS, Money Talk, which is basically Money Talk sort of like, you know, regular squad. This is sort of the regular WLF of Left Going Forward Gaming. Not sure how they stand right now at this point in time, to be honest. Like, you know, I have some faith in the full Italian squad, but the full Italian squad has not always worked its magic in the grand scale of international Rocket League.
Well, WLF have been trying to work their magic through. The squad itself has been around for ages. There have been some changes over it. Of course, Polar came in, then Polar left, then, of course, Going Forward Gaming, rather. Would be cool if the Guild Force picked them up, but no, it's Going Forward Gaming sort of had their stint with the team, and really for the team that they were, they, I think, perhaps came a little bit too low of the expectation, but still, they didn't really fall flat on their face. And what they've done was pretty remarkable, but clearly something has not worked out for them. Polar has now left, and reverting back to a full-on Italian team might be a good change, or maybe just like a little bit of a bandage on a spot that should be fixed some other way. As always, I'm all excited to see what Team WLF has in store. They're a team that I feel has great adjustability. They were the team that actually won the RL Esports Stadium Cup. So where the play has been happening on the classical map from the super acrobatic rocket-powered battle cars, and really you needed to sort of bring your own strategy plan. And while obviously the RLCS teams weren't exactly participating in that one, still out of the old bubble teams again, they came up top. And that was a pretty great performance out of them. Of course, you constantly see them in rival esports tournaments. In Gfinity, they have been a constant participant. And of course, under the Going Forward Gaming, they made their run in the Renegade Cup. So they're constantly here and have been here since, not since the dawn of time, but for several years now. And I'm always loving to see what possible changes they have made. They have been really improving leaps and bounds, but I'd say there's definitely, they're staying at least on a level that's good enough for the bubble scene.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though. It's only good enough for the bubble scene. And when you see what the bubble scene have been doing right now, I still think they can have a good day, or they could make it through. I think they're probably one of the least likely teams to do that, though, I think. You know, certainly I think that the core of this squad, the way that Lindau, CKS, and Money Talk have been playing together for yonks, essentially, you know, and through various different iterations of the roster, I think it certainly has run its course. I don't see this team, you know, they're not my prediction. Let's put it that way. Like they can have a good day, but I don't think they're gonna. They've got the best of chances to make it through. The same could also be said about AS Monaco. AS Monaco, our next squad. Let's see if I can find them real quick. Econ, Hoopus, and Craw. Now, I'm not sure where to weigh this team up in the grand scale of things, to be honest. Like, you know, AS Monaco have had a pretty decent sort of, like, you know, team in the past, with Yukis and Porto, and C being a substitute. But Econ has since then left his former team with Craw and Hoopus. And I think while this team has a little bit of potential, I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to have a good time here, Jam.
Yeah, it's my opinion as well. It's... Even with their previous incarnation with Porto and Yukis, they had a name behind them, a good recognizable sort of label, and we were hoping, yeah, a lot of things, great things will be coming for this French team. But really, they weren't exactly impressing as that squad, and now with two unknown qualities with Crow and Hoops, It's still, there are three big question marks currently hanging above that team. And while, again, the name is still there, I'm assuming some sort of a support behind the Monaco squad. The fact that they're another real-life football team means that they can bring some of that experience of running a team or running a squad, perhaps. Bring some of their coach experience, for example. Not exactly in Rocket League, but at least sort of building and nurturing a team. That might help. But it's unknowns. It's players that we really have never seen. And while it might be a new Chaussette, it might be a new Fairy Peak, so far it's still just Econ, Crow, and Hoops, and nobody really knows about them.
Yeah, again, I think that pretty much sums up, my personal opinion on where we stand with that one, and where we sort of like see AS Monaco's chances. They are another one of those weakest teams that possibly could not make a good run, although they could potentially overperform and do some good work. Another team that also sort of fits that bracket is Lausanne, or Lausanne, however you want to say it. I'm not really sure how they do it in the Swiss scene. I certainly am one of the guys who calls it Lausanne because it sort of makes up, sort of fits better in my mind. But this is classic Hello, Tio, and Arkin as the sub. I'm actually quite surprised that Arkin's a sub on this one, actually, because this is basically a squad in the TCS Esports League, the Switzerland scene, who many regarded as one of the best teams from Switzerland. Certainly proved it when they actually went and choked in the semi-finals of the LAN finals for the TCS tournament, which of course is what allowed this, which is what sort of like caused this whole thing to sort of like, throw into great effect, where they had to make some changes and Kiva left. So where do we stand on this one? Because they are going to be in TCS Season 2. They're going to have that chance at a bit of a more different bubble scene level. But in terms of the play-ins and in terms of making it to top 4, what are their chances here?
Well, I loved the Swiss scene as I was following it through the TCS inaugural season, and I'm looking forward to what will be happening in season number 2. I feel there's still a gap. There's still a gap between Lausanne, between Servette, and the rest of the bubble scene. And while something like a local league can help nurture a team, create a good competitive environment, something regular, weekly thing that could really sort of make a team grow, and these guys already are great Rocket League players. It's been a while. Obviously, the TCS season has ended quite a long time ago already. So if they really have been putting in their hours, it might be a good surprise for everyone. And the change that they made, dropping Kiver, might be actually a good one. I'm not that familiar with Teo. But
the situation with Kiva was that he was not happy with his performance in the TCS League. So when the LAN finals came through, he went a bit salty and he went away. And obviously he went to do what was it? He went to sub for a little bit, I think, for Servette Geneva, if I recall correctly. He was a temporary sub for the month that they had that original, for the month that they had Stocky on board, and the month that they felt like they were going to actually go for a run in the TCS, in the Swiss leagues essentially. So he's kind of left without a home on this one, and there's a pretty legit reason why he left on Lausanne. I think that he probably was one of the weaker elements during that LAN finals. Certainly underperformance, but I don't think that was enough to justify leaving the squad. That's just my opinion. I'm not going to go into that any further. But yeah, no, I've had a lot of faith in the Swiss scene as of late, but I think that just Tio is the guy that sort of throws the question marks up in the air. Like, what can he do? What is he realistically going to be able to bring this team that puts Lausanne over the edge? And I see that you're on the show plan here as well, Jam. You put the exact same doubt in that head.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a question as to whether Tio will be able to perform. They have a great chance to sort of show what they're capable of, and currently actually they're doing pretty well for themselves in the Rocket Baguette Rising Stars. They're playing in the highest division that is there, the Star League, and while they're currently second to an underrated team, which is actually a set of really unknown players, at least for me: Oxodo, Meloshisu, Cataclysm, Zileo. French scene is hiding some great Rocket League talent we have never heard about, but Arkan, Hello, Classic, Mirrorwing is on that squad actually, and Teo. are actually been making some great results over there and sticking together. So they're already getting some practice at the start of it. On the other side, AS Monaco Esports is also participating in at the same level. They are actually second, just like Lausanne Esports. It's still... We haven't really seen that much of Lausanne outside of the TCS Esports League, and even with the Rocket BGS Rising Stars, it's still sort of its own like biosphere, exosphere, whatever you might call it. Just small little place where it's hard to judge them. I still want to see them perform against the rest of the bubble scene, but I still feel like that comparison between the teams will not be in favor of Lausanne.
No, I certainly think that the other, TCS alumni, Swiss, Jesus Christ. The other Swiss squad that we're about to talk about called Full YOLO and Play, I think they've actually got a better chance at this one. This is Zafir, Mirrorwing, and Yagi, all of whom are some really, really big fucking names. Like Zafir was part of the Servette squad that smashed the ball out of the park when they played in the TCS Esports LAN, and then bringing in Mirrorwing, who was also a pretty hardcore player in Yagi as well, who also competed at the finals under the name of
Yagi played for Arctic.
Arctic, that was it, yeah. I was trying to figure the name. I was like, what the fuck? Why can't I figure this out? But yeah, also Mirrorwing playing for the Swiss Incredible Rebels at the time. Like, this is a squad, actually, that I think could do some really good damage because, like, these are some really, really big Swiss talents. Like, these are actually some players that I think if they put together in a solo standard team, they do well, but also with a bit of work, could possibly, make a good run for Switzerland and just be able to represent them on the international stage in Rocket League.
Yeah, actually, initially I've sort of been a little bit dismissive of Full YOLO and Play. Maybe it's the name. It sort of sets you up for a certain expectation. We're just here to maybe YOLO it once and then forget about it. But if you just take the individual players, with the exception of Yagi, who still has been one of the best players for his own team for Arctic, Zafir, of course, the winner with Servette. Mirrorwing was really the star of his own team, and really every single time he was with the ball, it has the same effect on me as some of the, like, basically every single time you give him the ball, you expected something to happen, and more than often than not, he delivered. So to take three of these players and put them together, this might be a really explosive concoction. The question is only whether it will work. Is if you take three different parts, they might completely not mesh together. That their playstyles might clash, and bam, we'll end up with something really not suitable for higher leagues. Or, hey, again, I'll be happy to be surprised. And if Swiss League will all of a sudden will produce something like that, the team of the quality that can contest the RLAfterShock teams, or just the rest of the bubble team, I'll be only happy to see that one. Again, I've changed my mind the more I've been looking at this squad. Seemingly they have a pretty good chance. I've sort of slacked the rest of your picks, Jay, but them, I'm actually loving what I'm seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm loving a lot of what these other lower tier squads are also bringing to their table. There's a team called We Not Fit, Relating Wave, Sharp, and Vert with Toto. I have no idea how to fucking say that name, but that's a team that I'm not sure what they went under during the Ember series. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm quite surprised to see Relating Wave and Sharp not playing with Distan this time. And fair play to Distan. Obviously, he's had a bit of a personal tragedy happen if you've been watching Twitter, so I'm not sure whether that's had any effect on this lineup or whether this was always going to be the case. But Relating Wave and Distan, when they played in the Ember series, like, they had some really good chemistry between the two. They played on a couple of teams before in a couple of different tournaments prior to that, and they... I am surprised that they've gone with a very different third here, Jam. Honestly, if this time was here and Relating Wave and Sharp were doing some good, on form, then this would have been a nice dark horse run to see. This would have been a nice dark horse to catch going into the top four. But because of that, I'm not really sure whether the chances are higher anymore.
There might be a little bit lower. Relating Wave, Sharp, and Distan was another team that sort of surprised us in the Ember series. They were playing under the Bus Drivers title. But Distan, we'll talk about him just a little bit later because he's on a different squad that I'm really liking the chances of. But going back to We Not Fit, dropping a really solid player might hurt their chances. And I remember you saying it. I think you mentioned also that a lot of the players and like broadcast talent in the UK are really loving what they're seeing from Red Wave. They are putting a lot of trust and hope in that player, and seemingly he hasn't really disappointed you during the run in the Ember series.
No, he absolutely did not, you know. But again, I feel like a lot of it was down to the fact that Distan was able to set him up so well. You know, I feel like when it was the bus drivers was the squad they played under, and when they did, when Relating Wave was doing well, it's because Distan was there to support him. Either they were passing, he was passing to him, or Relating Wave was passing back to Distan, and Sharp was there just being, you know, a Danish god, essentially. Like, you know, he was that extra solid support that they could anchor around and work the play around him, but also use their great team play together. So the fact that they've got this new guy in, Vert, which no offense to him, I don't actually know who he is. You know, I've never seen him play before. I don't think I've ever seen his name crop up in any particular competitive environment. I don't think I've seen him in not any of the Renegade Cup tournaments. That's for certain. But you know, I feel like, honestly, I put them in on the recommendation of, yeah, okay, this is a team that's gonna do damage. But now that I've seen the actual final lineup, you know, I'm not confident, Jam. Not anymore, well, at least.
Well, it is a chance for them to try, at least try it out. All the teams still have 3 chances to try and qualify for the tournament. The next one will be happening this weekend, March 10th, and there'll be another one March 13th and then March 17th. So even if this doesn't really work out for them, hey, I mean, you can also always try some other time. Really, yeah, we are not putting them at the very top of the contention, because even before that they weren't really from top of the contention. They were slightly surprising for us, but they really didn't steal the show like some of the teams did. Like ARG completely befuddled us. Yeah, taking Ember series after not having really played in any of the previous Renegade Cups, really YOLOing it through the whole thing and actually succeeding in that. It works out for them. Vert, I'm actually currently looking at his achievements. He has been spotted in a variety of squads, and actually the players that he is playing with are some pretty well-known names. He has been playing with Mr. Ube from Getafe Esports. He has been spotted with Junior. Riser and Kavari are the teammates that he's been spotted the most with. Emre, who has been playing, I think, with the Russian squads quite a lot, he is there. He has been around. It's just that, yeah, you sort of never hear him. You hear about his teammates, but Vert is still a pretty unknown factor.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you know, you can factor in MMR and shit. I know that some people like to use that to quantify like how other players are going to do. I can see that in the chat, but personally, like, you know, that MMR does not matter in the context of a tournament, basically. So we have to see how he does with We Not Fit. We have to see how they do with him. Maybe we might get a chance to see him on stream. Maybe we won't. I don't know. Again, we'll see how it goes for them. And we'll see how it goes for Getafe, who the next team I want to highlight. Nachtal, Mr. Ube, and Daniana. You just mentioned Mr. Ube in connection with Vert. This is a team that I classify as the second best in Spain right now. But they don't come close to what ARG can do. You know, like, yeah, ARG are fucking monsters. They are white hot right now. And Getafe, unfortunately, like, you know, they might be able to take some upsets against ARG, but when it comes to their performance in the grand scale of international and European Rocket League, I'm not convinced. Again, they could make a good run because they have made good runs in the past, but I'm not putting my money on it yet.
No, me neither. It's a squad that has been picked up and stuck together for a while, but really they seem to come short every single time. And well, their last great performance that I really remember is in Neon Dream in group stages. They've qualified through that, but then the final bracket wasn't really helped a lot for them. They can indeed fight with the teams that are at the same level as them or below, since Spain has no shortage of players. Some have already qualified for the play-ins already, against some names that we haven't even heard of before, but not against ARG. I mean, there's one king of Spain right now, that's ARG. Even if Savage signs up with Barcelona, it's still the true kings of Spain are definitely the ARG, who came in, who shocked everyone, and their playstyle is hot. And unless someone really finds out the secret to stopping them, they should continue to be hot and being the #1 team in Spain. That's definitely not Getafe, that's ARG.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, again, it's literally just by comparing those two squads together as being both from Spain. That they are the second best squad in Spain, but unfortunately, that's not good enough in this case with how stacked EU truly is. And for Getafe, that's a bit of an unfortunate run. Again, I'm hoping they do well. I'm hoping to make a deep run. I'm not counting on it again, so let's just see how that works out for them. A team that I do have a lot of faith in, though, Jam, is Childish Gambim. Now, Junior, Cheerio, and Breezy, essentially, is for me a really, really hot dark horse right now. These guys, the main reason why I didn't put them in my top 4 was because of the performance from the other teams I did put in the top 4 and the fact that they are essentially a mix for this one. As well as that, Distan is also registered as their sub, which also makes me even more confused as to why he didn't go with We Not Fit, because that really worked out well for him. But I think the main issue for this team is Tedder at the moment. I'm not really 100% confident in him as a player because he has had some situations where he has whiffed quite bad, especially in online tournaments and online leagues. But Cheerio and Breezy, I think those two elements together, like Cheerio was always my top man on Epsilon back when they were Epsilon, and Breezy was fucking saved the XXL side. Those two elements, I think, are really, really strong contenders. And if they make a good deep run, we could be looking at, you know, potentially some room for them in the top levels of Rocket League.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. We've seen the old Challenge Gambimbam, Tedakaro, and Junior. It was okay. Sometimes they could really bring in the heat, surprise a higher tier team. But then in the long run, they just didn't have enough part with them. Now that they've made a big swap and now Karen Jr. are out, Cheerio and Breezy are in, and Distan, who we mentioned previously, is indeed sitting in on the sub, but really could be brought at any time if he so wishes and can really make an impact. This Challenge Gambimbam squad, I think, has the best chance out of them all to actually make a name for themselves, even get picked up by an organization. Yes, while Teda might have his troubles, I'm liking their chances. Not top 4 chances, just like you. There's just too many contenders for that one. But it's a team that I think, like, 3 players that definitely have been making rounds, definitely are known for their own, like, little successes here and there. So having them on the same squad, this might be explosive.
Yeah, I'm expecting it to be explosive. I'm hoping that we get to see what they can do. You know, I think that if you match them up against any of the teams that we've mentioned so far, they probably would end up coming out on top. Some of them, I think, there might be a bit more of a difficult affair, but I think that overall, if you simulated it like 100 times, you know, about 80 times out of 100 for those harder teams, it would still come out to the favor of Childish Gambimbam. So yeah, I'm quite excited to see what Breezy and Cheerio can do in these qualifiers. Another team I kind of want to keep my eye on, but I don't necessarily want to think that they are they're going to be able to do they're going to be able to make a run to the finals. Is I Got the Part. Which I can't seem to find. There you go, IGTP. There you go. It's IGTP. IGTP switches so kindly left the initials instead of the full name, which was what I was typing in 5 times to try to actually bring it up on the fucking screen. But Clean, Reclusi, and Virus, which was a team that kind of came out of the gates and surprised us a little bit, Jam. They... for those of you who don't know who they are, basically, if you didn't watch the Ember Series, they were the only team that actually ended up beating the team that ended up winning that ARG. Right, they were the only squad that ended up having a series above ARG in that playoff bracket, which was massively surprising. Although I put that in with a lot of hope for this squad. Now that I'm actually considering what they've been able to do since that point, you know, when it comes to some of the lower tier tournaments, and they still haven't quite managed to perform in the same sort of level and way, I'm half tempted to say that that was a bit of a fluke result. And I hate to say it like that, but, you know, now that I'm thinking about the way that I can see them, you know, in the context of the rest of the squads here, I feel like they might actually be the weakest of the dark horses.
Yeah, it's a possibility. All respect to Dwarfbutt and his squad, and I'm loving the fact that they have stuck together. With all these changes happening around you, week in and week out, you might see completely different squads just because players are trying different things. But I got the parts stuck together, and I'm always loving to see that. Someone who is actually giving some trust into spending some time together, seeing whether it works as a team, whether you can actually start improving together. and in a team environment like that definitely will help. But I'm with you on the fact that ARG, victory over ARG, much of a surprise it was given the final result of that tournament. It was a fluke, and really their performance before that or after that didn't really signify that they might be repeating that anytime soon. They've been a really awkward opponent for ARG. Many top level teams can sometimes get trapped by one of the lower tier teams because they just don't expect the playstyle. They don't expect even the misses, the whiffs. A lot of play in the higher tiers is based on predictions, on expecting what your opponent will do. Really, Face, whom you know, talked my ear off, just saying how where we were playing together, how many of the players sort of are not playing as he expects. So that was what could have stopped ARG. But again, they have a bright future. They are seemingly liking to be playing with each other, and that's a great thing to see. So best of luck to them. Not really seeing them in contentions for top 4 spot, top 32 maybe, but that's already sort of, well, you're in top 32.
I was just going to mention, like, you know, I know that people have said that obviously they've pulled off some good results in like the trials. I think the one that kind of kicks about most of the time is the GFG result. But again, like that's one result, you know. And again, it's a situation of they spark up, they do really good work for an ARG and a GFG, and then they go silent again, because you'll know that after that fact they got taken out by the late ones, which was the roster of Jakey Poo's team. I can't remember the other 2 players. I think it was Frozen and oh shit, I'm gonna have to bring it up. I can't remember, but bottom line is that they had a bit of a. I'd argue that the late ones team would have been, like, you know, worse than GFG, to be honest. And that's my problem with I Got Apart, is the fact that they do have some good results. They do have some situations where it's like, oh shit, they've actually managed to take this team out. They've actually managed to do some good work, and then immediately they get wrecked. And the case in point is obviously going back to that ARG result. They instantly get 3-0 by the Schnoozers, and then they went out to Game Fist, who went out to 21 one game later. You know, like it's not convincing enough for me to say, right, I think these guys can be a serious contender for the top 4 spot. I think they're dark horses, but I think they're the darkest of the dark horses right now.
Yeah, you should keep them in mind, because many of the teams that we're currently discussing are players, but not exactly the teams. Although it has been a combination of both. But I Got the Part is we're currently looking at them as a potential team. The fact that the players are just, again, sticking together is a pretty important thing, and they have a lot of growth potential. But we can't exactly put them amongst the top of the tops. But still, just in the back of your head, remember the name, and they might surprise you pretty soon if they just continue what they have been doing.
On a team that we also expect some slightly better performances, I think, really. Well, certainly you expect them, because I didn't kind of consider this squad, but you put them down as a team that you wanted to mention, you wanted to bring to the fold, is Stratus. This is Flux, Peak, Lorty, and Nauman as they're the 4 sort of like players who are going to be playing together, and they kind of had like, you know, a bit of a weird, you know, a back and forth situation, because like the Stratus name goes back by like a number of different tournaments over the course of 2018, but they haven't really come to prominence and been able to you know, do amazing things in certain scenarios. Like, yeah, they were able to qualify easily for the Neon Dream draft. They were able to qualify easily for the Ballistics Brawl Season 2, but when it came to facing up in those tournaments, they got top 4 at Ballistics Brawl, but then they also went out in top 8 for the Corporation Clash in the Neon Dream, and then they went out 7th and 8th in the Confederation Cup, which is sort of like the final stage of the Neon Dream. And the key thing about them as well is the fact that they weren't able to go and they weren't able to go and do massive amounts in the other Renegade monthlies either. So I want to know from you, why do you want to highlight this squad?
Well, this is, first and foremost, this is a squad that gave us Flakes. He has been playing with the squad throughout the Renegade Cups. Obviously, he's now off that team, but with what I've seen from B-Peak and with Flux and Lodi also being names in the bubble scene, I feel like it won't be the same effect as they had with Flakes on the squad. But I feel like it's still worth keeping an eye on them. It's one of those slightly lighter horses, I suppose. Someone who, again, someone you should be aware of and should be perhaps slightly afraid of. Not really stealing all the limelight, but they're there, and I think just 3 solid middle of the road players.
Yeah, I can agree with that much, to be honest. I think maybe if Flakes was there, then we'd be like, okay, yeah, now we're looking at something really serious. But then he's not there anymore, so obviously I'm not really sure where they stand in the grand scheme of things. Solid players, but again, not quite a team per se. Another team I want to say that is Wait What, Didris, Flarkey, and Winther, I'm not really sure how you say it. But Waffle. Yes. Why did you change it to something really fucking awkward with Waffle? Whatever. Right. But Didris was in the last season of the RLAfterShock, obviously playing under the Copenhagen Flames, which they had a really poor performance. But it's a lot of Nordic. There's a lot of Nordic pride, I guess you could say, on this side, and I'm not really sure. Nordic certainly seems to be sort of like a really popular region in Rocket League. But where do we see this team in particular? Because again, it seems like with Stratus, they are so really good individual players, but not really a team. You know?
Yeah, it's the same here. I'm pretty sure it's folks who have been playing together here and there, not for perhaps for long periods of time, but they decided that, hey, we don't have anyone else to play with. Why not team up? We sort of been playing at the same level, and we could definitely try and see whether we can try and do something. Many of the teams, there are actually a lot of teams that we won't be mentioning who are here perhaps only for some giggles. And while those are no names, you've heard about these players. They're just trying. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, oh well. I mean, we don't really care. It might be one of those teams. I'm not exactly expecting perhaps Zitters, Flake, and Winter to really go and stick together for a really long time. But hey, it might still happen. And again, on the same level of Stratus, perhaps even slightly higher. I think you should. This is a team that definitely will be making it in the top 32 at the very least, but might not exactly be stealing them. There might be a couple of surprises up their sleeves. If not for some of the next teams down on the list, because, hey, Jay, have you heard? Pashy's back. And
yes, I did, and I have no idea why you put this fucking team down, because I have absolutely no faith that this team is going to do anything right now.
All right, it might be indeed one of those teams that I've mentioned previously, just here for giggles. But you never know. You never know. It might be a possibility. We don't know how serious is Pashy. Can you even trust the man at this point? But knowing at what level he has played previously, knowing he has brought Killer number 7 and Stocky together to play with them, really it's a solid team. It's Killer number 7 and Stocky couldn't really again go big, but perhaps with Pashy at the helm of that team, there's a possibility.
Nah, I disagree. I'm going to disagree off the back of that right there, because like Killer number 7 has not been like very significant in Rocket League for a very long time. He's not been part of a really, really good team in a very, very long time. And you could argue the same thing with Stocky as well. You know, like that last team he was part of was the Soviet Geneva squad just about a month ago, and obviously they dropped him before he could actually do anything good with it. Prior to that, it was the Clappers, which again got wrecked in the last season. You know, like, I'm looking at it like, okay, well, yeah, like what has Stocky and Killer done recently that you know that Pashy can use to carry into the next season, into the season? Like, you know, I don't think this is going to work. Like, yeah, Pashy's great, but Killer, Stocky, I'm not sure of. I'm Matt. I haven't seen him in any big tournaments. You know, it's a great story. Yeah, Pashy with his one final chance, but honestly, I don't think it's going to happen. I really have no faith in this team.
Well, you never know. It could be the Jaromir Jagr situation, which just comes out of retirement one last time, tries winning something. Didn't really exactly work for Jaromir Jagr, but there have been situations like that, and you never know. But I understand your sort of reluctance to give them a chance in this one. But it's still I think you might disregard them, but we should still mention them, as Pashi is
I mean,
one of
look,
those.
right, look, right. The reason when we have these players on board is because we think individually or as a unit that this is going to end up being a good tournament for them, and they'll be able to make a dark horse run. And certainly you have a bit more faith than I do. But Pashi's still good, right? I can give them that much, right? He's still good. He can still pull it out of the hat to carry these two players to victory, right? Because I don't think he was the problem in Vitality. I don't think he should have been kicked for the last time around. And I think that honestly, if he had another shot with another big team, then maybe he could actually, still be able to hang with the top level pros. Again, my problem is with the rest of this team, right? That's my problem right here, and that's the main reason why I think that, yes, they're not the weakest team out of this release list, but they're also nowhere near the strongest out of this list, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, those are still only honorable mentions, and just a quick run through the rest of my picks. Really nothing that much to say about them. Seregeneve Esports is participating in this tournament with Ryzex, Koka, Tater, and Rowie. Another not-so-serious name, Chacaron, Gutsmill, and Steak. Could be pretty interesting, but Chacaron just keeps on trying to get some success going.
When is he going to become a coach, man? Like, for real, fucking...
Eventually.
Like, if there's any pro, I think, that right now is not performing well that could be a coach, it would be, number one, Marky Dudar, number two, Chacaron, right? Like, when is he just going to bite the bullet and say, fuck it, let's go coach fucking... Nordavind or some shit. Like, I think honestly, if he coached Nordavind, sure, that could end up being an RLRS team over one season. Take my advice, Shaq, please.
Chacaron. Well, folks at Chacaron on Twitter, let's get the idea into his head. Especially if this run fails. Hey,
Chacaron for Nordavind coach. Yeah. But Dignitas might still be looking for her. No, fuck it. Like the hashtag Chacaron for Dignitas coach. There you go.
All right, well, all the hashtags after this one, after this broadcast for Rocket League Aftershock or RLAfterShock. Two quick mentions to right-overs, not leftovers, just right-overs, Calix, Skyline, and Bilbo. And just last one, as I just love seeing Arju. He has been, again, down a little bit. Haven't seen him in a while. But previously, he had a really good stint last year where he was just at the top of the world. Arju, J-Walls, and Ixa with their fourth Cal, as May Contain Nuts, really made themselves sort of almost shocked everyone in their, was it DreamHack Leipzig run, or was it the WSOE run? I can't remember at this point, but it really knocked out a couple of really strong teams during that one.
Yeah, I'm certain that Ixa has a bit more of a brighter future. Like, I think he might slot in better with what was the team we talked about earlier? The Charged Gambimpan. That was it. I think honestly he would slot in with in replacing not Charged Gambimpan. Who the fuck are they? Breezy's squad. Fuck, hold on.
No, it is Childish Gambimba.
Is it Childish Gambimba?
Yep, indeed.
Oh yeah, no, Tedder, Cheerio, and Breezy. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Childish Gambimba. Like, I think if you slotted in him in place of Tedder, then suddenly we've actually got a bit more of I'd say that they probably would end up making my top four if he slotted into that one. But as it stands, I think that he's the best element of this new squad, of this May Contain Nuts side. Yeah, Arju's great, but I think that Ixo's better. J-Walls is again not quite been. Has not quite been at the top of his game as of late, and I feel like honestly, this is another dark horse, but not a massively, not a big sort of contender. I think for the top four.
Well, I might be just overestimating the quality of these players, but there's just something about May Contain Nuts that might actually, in a way, I might even put them at the top of this little list that I made for myself. But I think, Jay, that's it. I think out of all the honorable mentions, out of all the teams that might possibly do it, or the teams that we should be keeping in mind, but for later seasons, not for this one. It's nice to have them, but not really. I think it's time for the top of the crop,
big dogs,
the top four, and It's extremely close. Just like with our prediction during the Ember series, seemingly we just have copied each other's homework, and there's a little bit of variation, but
yeah, like here's the thing, like we've gone from our top picks at the top of each of our lists to then second pick, third pick, fourth pick, and that's how we're going to approach it. We're going to go with my top pick, then Jam's top pick, my second pick, then Jam's second pick, essentially, and we go back and forth like that to sort of describe our reasons why, you know, we believe where they stand. But basically, we have all the same 4 teams, but they're just in slightly different orders. So it's not like massively, you know, it's not like massively different, but still, like, you know, like again, it kind of proves our point of how really good the bubble scene has been as of late, especially for these 4 squads to stand out above, you know, some of the most stacked talents in Rocket League history. Like, yeah, not half bad, to be honest. So let's talk about ARG to start off. ARG.
Enough said, I think.
Yeah, enough said. There you go. Right, second pick. No, that's both of our top picks. I'll start off by stating that much at least. Like, these guys have been white hot. They have been white hot as of late. Winning the Ember series, coming close to winning the Renegade Cup finals, if I recall correctly. Like, you know, they've just been smashing it out of the park, left, right, and center. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who they come up against. You know, they made it to upper bracket finals against Savage, beat MCon, came back against Savage to lose 4-0, unfortunately. But even during their time during the Ember series, they won that off of the back of a miracle fucking run. You know, that's the key thing that sort of I started off right there, is that they came through that and it was like, right, well, yeah, okay, they might do something. They might be able to do some damage. They have some good players, but they have to go all the way to the finals, win the finals to even get a shot at the Renegade Cup finals. And that's exactly what they did. They smashed out of the park in the Renegade Cup finals. They came in the European Winter Open qualifier, and they didn't quite make it all the way through on that one, but they beat them. They beat out Nordavind in the all-platform tournament, which started off their own sort of issues with that. Had a good run in the open qualifiers, finishing up top. Came top 8 in the open qualifiers for Leipzig. You know, like they've just been on a tear as of late. And I don't think they actually made it to the LAN itself. But regardless, the fact that they got that close to already pulling off a big you know, placement in the Leipzig tournament, like, they are mad good right now. They are mad good.
Yeah, and that run during the Leipzig was great. They've defeated Arena Vitality. They've defeated the XRLRS team, the Clappers. Yes, they lost to Team Secret and they lost to Mouse, but still, what they did was remarkable. Obviously, they have been stopped by Savage, who are themselves on a tear and on a roll. But victories against MCon twice in Renegade Cup finals, wins against GFG. And really, just the effort that they put through in the Ember series really shows that they're at the top, really the best there currently is, the best contender that there will be. And now that they've sort of finally figured out what is the best 3 that they should be going with, I think they should only contain to bulldoze every single team that's in their way.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like they are most certainly going to make it to top 4 during the course of the tournament. I'm going to go possibly even top 2. They are contenders for top 2 in the RLRS next season. So that's where I kind of put ARG right now, with just how good they really have been. Whether they will actually do that, obviously, time will have to tell. As it stands, I'm not sure if they've qualified for the play-in just yet. We'll have to find out as the next couple of weeks go on. My second pick is MCon Esports. And my main reason for MCon Esports is, other than the fact that they are MCon Esports and a team that have been together for yonks, essentially. You know, I think for about, what is it, June, July, sort of like period of last year is when they first got together. They added Justice later on down the line. But as a Netherlands squad, they have been looking just as good right there. Like, we've been looking at them like, yeah, these guys are good sort of like upset elements. You want to take a look at them, it's like, if they get thrown up against a team that you would consider better than them, they could still do one over on them. They could still end up with the victory. They could still end up with the with the result and moving forward in whatever tournament they're playing. It was really at DreamHack Leipzig where we showed how far that extent can really get carried. It was during Leipzig that they ended up in the group stage, they ended up eliminating a certain squad. Let me see if I can figure it out. TSM, actually, was it? It was TSM. At the time, considered one of the best teams in the world right there. Certainly one of the best in EU. But they ended up beating them 3-2 in I don't think it was a complete reverse sweep, but they ended up taking the last 2 games out of the 3 that was played in the end of that tournament before they eventually ended up falling to Complexity in the lower bracket of the Day 2 group stage. Obviously, they had a bit of a hard graft drawing against Dignitas and Complexity, but it's signs of that life as well as being able to do really, really good work in the rest of the bubble scene that it's like, okay, these guys are legit. They are 100% legit.
Yeah, they are currently the powerhouse of the Benelux scene. The Kaiser League Season 4 that has recently started, they're currently unbeaten in that one. So only the best things are currently happening for American esports. While they're still young and there might still be a little bit of problem specifically in that, the fact that sort of the mentality might be a little bit askew, make no mistake, their quality of their play, the fact that they really have been sticking together for such a long time. Previously, they have been playing together as Need 200 Boost. And really just the time that they've spent together, they have improved. They have noticeably improved as a team, starting in from sort of making attempts at winning things and then just got on a roll and didn't stop. They aren't exactly the quality of Savage yet, and Savage really was comprised of players who are already great, or just those bubbling talents. But MCon sort of have a little bit of a different quality about them, is that they were unknown initially, but are trying to break into the scene, and I think they're doing a pretty good job. The Leipzig qualifiers themselves have been another surprise show with so many upsets. If only MCon could upset Dignitas, then everyone will be just going crazy.
Oh,
it
yeah,
didn't
fucking
happen.
hell.
Didn't happen, but there's still a chance that they could drop a lot of upsets on this one. There are 4 spots for the next season of RLRS, and I'm feeling that they should take one of them. Although I'm not putting them at top 2 spots, I have a lot of trust in the squad of Scooby Snacks, which is, of course, better known as Xenomoon, Zenzus, Nolistic, and Monkey Moon. And they came out of nowhere. If MCon, I sort of been following for a while, heard about them, seen them play, casted their games. Xenomoon came in and into the scene. They have been around for a while. Zenzus, of course, previously playing for Kaunos. But Nolistic and Monkey Moon were really under my radar, but they came in and absolutely blasted me away. The understanding between those 2 players is crazy. And with Zenzus helping them out, or either as a defensive player or just helping them set up the players for them, that squad has a plan, has a great strategy to them. It's one of those rare teams at this level that really utilizes the passing plays, and they're dominating. They're absolutely dominating. While MCon has a little bit of they also have a passing plays for them. They have a strategy. Definitely, they are tactically apt, but I feel like Xenomoon will have an upper hand against them. I'm really hoping to see those 2 teams butt their heads at some point. I don't think they had a chance to do that just yet.
Well, I think I'm just going to insert myself. I'm just going to insert myself and say that if the seeding is anywhere decent, they won't have to see each other at all during the course of this tournament. I think that they are very, very good squads. I think all of these teams should not face each other during the course of the qualifiers. But again, that's just my own personal opinions and where I think they sort of stand. I did pick Xenomoon and Scooby Snacks to make their way in. I just picked them as the 4th squad, just spoiler for a little bit ahead on. My 3rd pick was actually Echo Zulu. Now, this might be a bit of a controversial one because obviously they didn't make it further than MCon during DreamHack Leipzig, and that's where I based most of my sort of like construction of this particular hierarchy off. We didn't have a chance to see ARG. I think they would have done well if they made it into the DreamHack Leipzig Open signups. And yes, Echo Zulu did make a top 8 run, but the reason why I consider MCon to be a bit more significant is because obviously they did take some games off some really, really good opponents. Complexity were on fire at that point. They had a close affair against Dignitas to the point where all their games were within 1 or 2 goals. Obviously, the defeat against Solo Mid is absolutely massive, and I think they also brought it close against Complexity as well. When they had this, some of the one-sided losses weren't always going to the favor of Complexity. Whereas Echo Zulu themselves had a bit of an easier time in their group stage. They got close against PSG, beat Triple Trouble to eliminate them and go forward in the next group stage. Then they eliminated Ghost Gaming, who I think are a very weak North American team, to make it into the playoffs. And then they lost 3-0 to Dignitas, who had, I'm not going to say a very easy time, but they certainly didn't give them any opportunities during that quarterfinal matchup. So I think Echo Zulu, yes, this is going to be their breakout season. Yes, they're going to have a good time. But if I had to pick them in terms of a hierarchy of the 4 teams from the bubble scene, I think the 4 teams from the qualifiers, I think are going to make it up. They have to go in 3rd place for me.
Yeah, unfortunately, you still have to put Echo Zulu below MCON. It's how it goes and how it was in the previous season of Kaiser League. It's how it seemingly is, despite those surprise victories over at Leipzig. You didn't mention their victory over Evil Geniuses 3-0, which was also one of the big surprises. The problem for the Team Echo Zulu is that after that was really great, but then losses to Exalti, losses to Brash Esports in Kaiser League, is as if they were really feeling it against the top teams, but then dropping down to a different level, all of a sudden they are not performing that well. Really, a team that has won against Triple Trouble, Evil Geniuses, Ghost Gaming, really should be carrying up a part of the whole local league, but no, they aren't. It's not exactly working out for them, so they've dropped back in again. And while MCON Esports is still in a roll, Team Echo Zulu seemingly, whatever happened to them, I'm actually slightly surprised that this is happening. I will personally also put them slightly lower than the MCON squad.
So does that mean your 4th pick is Echo Zulu because you put them both at the same place at C, right? I'm not going to let you get away with this shit, Jam.
Okay, well,
still not gonna let you get away because we've put, what we've done is we've put like our top 4 picks in a little document, and what Jam's done is on the 3rd place he's picked MCON/Echo Zulu, and then for 4th he's put everybody else. Like, fuck that, it doesn't work that way, Jam, right? Only 4 teams can qualify, you have to pick 4. So I'm gonna say that MCON is in 3rd for you and Echo Zulu are on 4th, right? And obviously my 4th pick is Xenomoon Scooby Snacks because of their own fucking just absolutely mad run throughout the course of the time that they formed up. They formed, what was it, at the very early part of January, and then they went into the Leipzig qualifiers not knowing what to expect, and then they just absolutely destroyed it in like any manner of form. Actually, I'm just going to bring up the bracket right now because they came 5th, 6th, and I think they actually managed to make it all the way up against Team Secret before they ended up going out, which is just like, that is mad. That is mad. They went all the way up against the likes of Mouse Sports, through 5-game series against Secret, then up against PSG, which is where they ended up, you know, only a couple games away from making it into the LAN itself. You know, like, they have been on fire right now. You know, they have been on fire, but I still think that there's more consistency to find later on down the line.
They are absolutely crazy, really. Their victory against Flipside Tactics in close qualifiers for Leipzig, their victories against ARG, Mouse, and Flipside again in the Rival Esports Winter Open only shows what high quality this team is and what a big of a shocker. Quickly checking, it wasn't a reverse sweep against Flipside Tactics, it was a reverse sweep against Mouse, but my oh my, they really came into play, and really just based on the results, seemingly they're even slightly higher than the ARG squad, just based on the previous performances. Still, for me personally, they're still a little bit less known, but they came and took the scene by the storm. So not exactly agreeing with your pick of 4th spot, but definitely they're up there. And all right, I will concede. I will put a Team Echo Zulu at the 4th spot for reasons already discussed.
Finally!
But then at spot number 5, I will put everyone else. Because
well, that means that everybody else doesn't qualify, so that works for me. There we go, Jam. Right. With that being said, our time is up. Well, it was up about half an hour ago, but there's just way too much to talk about when it comes to talking about these squads, when it comes to talking about the bubble scene as a whole, and where the RLRS qualifiers are going to go from here, because there is so many contenders right here, Jam. I think it's very, very apparent that any one team can make a really, really good run through these qualifiers and make it into the RLRS. I think you'll agree with me, buddy.
Yeah, it is. It has been just a really great trip going through all of these, and really once again sort of recognizing the depth, the width, and the quality of the bubble scene. And we are already seeing waves being made by those teams in the 2B qualifiers that have been happening. Of course, the RL esports tournaments that have been running. And now, really, the big test, what all of these teams are practicing for is trying to qualify for RLRS. So it'll be a blast to watch, blast to follow, and my, I'm loving what's currently happening in EU.
Indeed, we all are, and that's what this podcast is all about here. And of course, that's going to be it for today here on RL Aftershock. We'll be back next week, most likely on Tuesday again. The main reason is because obviously the TCS Esports League is coming up, and me and Bacon will be casting it. I think you're going to be casting alongside Jam as well. Alongside Crafted, excuse me. You are Jam, you know, we're going to be casting that on Monday, so there should be a bit of a schedule shift. Keep your eyes locked to the Twitter at RL Aftershock for more details on that, when and where it comes. Follow the Twitch at twitch.tv/RLAftershock if you're listening to the audio or video podcasts. If you're not listening to the audio or video podcasts, then you can find those on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and 7 other major podcast distribution platforms. You can go to anchor.fm/RLAftershock to find your favorite platform or request your favorite way of listening. Jam, has it been fun for your first time here on the RL Aftershock stream?
It has been, absolutely. With the topic that is dear to my heart, it has been lovely. So thanks for having me. It's been, well, I'm always hoping that one day I will appear in one of those seats, either maybe just the third seat, but it just so happened that Bacon is out, and it has been a pleasure and an honor, and just again, I'm loving what I'm currently seeing from our local scene.
Indeed we are. Well, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you back here next week, hopefully for even more of the Aftershock.